Hey, hi all. We're here with Motherly Love. I'm your host, Amber Celestial Angel, and today our lovely mom featured is Laura Minard. So hi, Laura.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
All right, we'll get started with, kids, your family, and an introduction into who you are, what you do that sings to your soul.
Oh, okay. So I was a very late bloomer. So my entire 20s was bad relationships, drug abuse, going from job to job. And then I became a nurse at age 30. So I really didn't become a grown-up until I was much older. I always say I was just late to bloom, and I spent a lot of time as a teenager in my 20s. So after nursing school, I got pregnant at my first job as an ICU nurse. And he was a little boy, and he came early. And when he was born, and that birth started a chronic illness journey for me. So I had never really been chronically ill before. And as soon as my son was born, I began having chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and nerve pain. And it really started about a 3-year journey of chronic health stuff. I also got pregnant 3 months after my son was born with my daughter. So my kids are 13 months apart. And that exacerbated my health. So I went through a 3-year period of time with all in conventional medicine, going to every specialist, psychiatrist. At the very end of this 3-year journey, they told me it was all in my head and accused me of being drug seeking. And really, I was just doing everything I possibly could to get answers. So I had a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, and my daughter had a medical thing happen to her where she stopped walking. She had been running around. She was 20 months old, and all of a sudden she started falling to one side and spacing out and having kind of seizure activity. So that happened. And of course, all the answers we got from conventional medicine were guesses and not definitive, and nobody was really interested in finding out why. And so I went to a naturopathic doctor for my own health and for my kids' health. And that's when all of the pieces started kind of falling together with what had happened to her and what had happened to my health. And it just started a deep, deep desire of finding out, well, why aren't doctors helping people get well? And why was I on 13 medications at age 35? And so 2 to 3 hours a night of studying for years. I ended up working with a naturopathic doctor for a few years as well. And just really exposing the broken system, the broken healthcare system, not only for mental health, but for physical health, and a deep desire to want to help women who were just like me. And I don't know if you know this, Amber, but childbirth can be the trigger for so many different autoimmune processes. And pregnant women are getting injected twice with 2 vaccines, which can really cause a change in health as well. So I quit my job as an RN and went to coaching school, started my own business. And in that period of time, I had a near-death experience as well when I was ill. And I had always been very, very intuitive. I had always been extremely psychic, able to connect, but then the doors were just blown wide open. And so trying to balance all of that in what's happening in humanity, what's happening in medicine, the corruption in medicine, it's just like was a sliver. And I kind of went into my own dark night of the soul and really realizing what's happening in this world, who is in power, what we need to heal, and then who I needed to be apart from a mom and a nurse and a wife. Just a deep, deep calling and longing and responsibility, which I'm sure a lot of your viewers will feel the same about.
Yes, I definitely understand that. So do you want to share like kind of your big, what I call the big event? Like a lot of us have this kind of big thing happen that really just blows the doors off, and we're like, okay, here we go. So What would you say that was? And if you want to go into any detail.
Yeah. Oh gosh, there's many, but so I'll talk about my near-death experience. My near-death experience was, I had no idea if that's what it was at the time, but I had been, like I said, I was really ill, and it was about 12 in the afternoon, and I couldn't nap. Part of my illness was like severe insomnia and anxiety. So I didn't, even though I was exhausted, I could never nap. And my husband had been home from work, and it was about noon, and I just got so tired. So tired that I just told him, I'm going to have to go lay down and take a nap. But by the time I had gotten to my bed, down the hallway to my bed, my body was already shutting down. And by the time I got my head on the pillow, I was already in sleep paralysis. It was like somebody just took the energy out of my body. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, my body's just giving out. And so as soon as I laid down, I was out of my body probably about, I don't know, 500 or 600 feet in the air, and I was looking down at my house. And I've never been suicidal, but I knew something was happening. And at that moment, I had a feeling that I had my hands like on a steering wheel, and I was holding on really tight, and I was afraid. And I just had a split-second decision to just throw it and say, take me. Like, wherever I'm going, take me. And I went so far out into space. I mean, I shot so far, so fast. And I'm not like a space person. So this was really a unique experience. And I just stopped in space, and I looked around, and I saw a star in front of me and a star to the right. Our sun was in front of me, but it was just a tiny dot at that point. And I realized I was in all three places at the exact same time, and that there was no time, and there's no space, and that I could create, whatever I wanted within this triangle of whatever I was seeing. Then I started hearing a really loud buzzing sound, and I woke up inside my body and gasping for air. So I hadn't been breathing, and really gasping for air, very air hungry. And so I had thought I just had an apneic episode or something, but it was a spontaneous near-death out-of-body experience that I didn't have control over. I didn't try to lay down and journey. This happened to me. It didn't happen from me. So I ran to the mirror, looked at my face, because I thought I had aged. I just thought in my head, there's no way I could have traveled that far and that fast without aging, because I had gone so many light years. And of course I was fine. And that experience, I mean, I could go out into a restaurant. I was knowing when people were going to die. I knew who was fighting with who. So like the amount of information I had available to me just was exponential. And then I was trying to figure out, well, how do you live with that much information? And is this a blessing or a curse? And do I want this? And I had to get really clear about discernment, about what I wanted to see, what I wanted to be shown, how I wanted to be shown. I was getting audible, visual, kinesthetic, and I said, no, I want only when I ask, and only from my mind's eye. That's the only way I want to connect. And I don't want to know anything about anybody if I'm not meant to do something with that in service to them. So I had to get really discerning about how I was going to use this gift. And then, the coming out and telling people I had it. And then charging people to use it was another huge, didn't feel right. But I also knew that I couldn't do it for free and work my day job and help people. So I really found like a heart-centered way to create income from using this gift and getting really clear on how I wanted to use it.
Yes, beautiful story. Yeah, mine was similar. It kind of, you go through a phase where I was the same after my near-death experience. I was just getting all this information on people, and I'd just randomly go up to them and say, hey, do you know I'm getting this message here for you? And then I realized, I had to go through some training, if you say, I had to get a mentor, and I'm like, okay, I guess you don't just say whatever, I guess, and then it sucks your energy as well. So that's why, if people wonder why we may charge for that, we don't always have to, but it is very hard on the energy, and it really does take a lot out of us to do that. So yes, I understand that for sure. And so your story is. Mine's pretty similar, you know, going out into this no space time place and a replay, or seeing all this, you know, I guess it's a life review type thing.
Mhm.
Mine was, and seeing just so much stuff.
Mm.
Yes. So did you have any other
Yeah.
events or yeah.
So, and then this event, which is interesting because I'm so intuitive. So I told you about my daughter having her medical situation. Well, after going to my naturopath, I was watching movies about genetically modified food and, you know, just completely changing the way I see our physicality and trying to become well. And there was another documentary by the same people, and it was called The Truth About Vaccines. And as an RN, I had given hundreds of vaccines. I didn't want to watch it because I thought it was BS, because obviously not every doctor in the world is wrong, right? But I decided to just watch the first episode. And by that halfway through the first episode, I immediately knew what had happened to Addie. I went back into my phone, I checked her immunization records, and I checked pictures of her. And from the day that she had her last vaccine, she was sick and feverish, and her face was swollen and bright red. And it was just, you could just see the progression into encephalitis. So her brain swelled from vaccination. And it that just blew my whole paradigm apart, because for something to that belief system in what something's good and that all mainstream doctors tout as the good, to have that blown outside of my head, and for me to know in deep in my heart that they aren't safe for everybody, that was really difficult for me, because there hit a point as a nurse where I couldn't be a nurse anymore and be in integrity without telling my patients the truth, what I know to be the truth about parts of medicine. And so I was either going to get fired or I was going to have to walk away. So that was the beginning of walking away from conventional nursing. And then hours and hours and hours of research, deciding to be public about that story, because unfortunately, and this is where I feel that deep responsibility, the amount of vaccines we're giving kids, we're just setting them up for, I don't want to say, I'm going to go kind of esoteric on you, but it depletes your ability to connect to spirit. So there's physical parts of it, but what's inside of them, the aluminum that's inside of them, it really dampens your ability to connect to spirit. So I think from an esoteric standpoint, I just feel like it's really important for every mother and father to know the whole truth before they have informed consent, and then giving them the power to say whatever you feel is good for your child is good, and use your own intuition. You do not need to blindly follow a medical advice, because it's tainted by pharmaceutical profit and propaganda, unfortunately. And I don't know how your audience is. This might be the first time someone's ever heard something like this. So I always encourage everybody to check in with yourself, because if your intuition is saying, I need to give my daughter or son this vaccine, then there's probably a reason. But if you check in with yourself and you have any hesitation, that's the key to begin to question. And just know that you're the boss, your doctor's not the boss, and you can decline, and you can space out, and you're the person who's in control of what goes into you and your children's bodies.
Yes, I'm so glad you brought that up and all that good information. I agree. And it seems like now can be a cutoff, I guess, from what someone thinks is their intuition and just what they're being told. So it's like, also, I feel like we've got to bring the true intuition back and like really nurture it and really get inside of that. You know, a lot of women, especially because we are the main ones in this fight right now for our children and their health, and having that intuition, you know, guide you right as it's supposed to, is important to guide you right. And yeah, just so much outside interference is coming in and really isn't good for us and isn't healthy, but many are being made to believe that it is.
Yeah.
So,
And then the gaslighting that occurs because we're, our doctors were telling me, Laura, it's all in your head. Your labs are perfect. Your scans are clean. You shouldn't be in pain. And I'm saying, but doctor, I am in pain. To have a naturopath do a different kind of lab and show that I had no zinc in my body. And as soon as we repleted zinc and B12 and a couple of other things, my pain went away. And so that was another, it's like, when we seek experts outside of ourselves for any reason, they are one point of view and they're a consultant, but ultimately we are responsible for whatever path we choose and whatever healing that we choose. And doctors, unfortunately, are not trained to encourage us. They're trained to be expert. We're down here. They tell us what to do and we obey. And that's a very dangerous place to be when it comes to health, because we truly know deep down, like you were saying, we can connect to our deep intuition. We'll have every answer we need about any why in the road with what we do with ourselves and with our kids. And mother's intuition is like the strongest gift that humanity can use right now. And in the times that we're in, it's going to be challenged, so challenged with what's probably coming this next year. And so it's really time for women to find their voice and just know, like, above their partners, above their doctors, above the males in their life, their intuition is what's going to get us where we need to go. And so how do we decide to like own that and be powerful and stand strong and speak that, no matter if our voice shakes, no matter if people think we're crazy? It's like, how can we collectively be that intuition and be that voice for not only for ourselves, but for other families as well?
yes, that's where we're at now, huh? A lot of us stepping out into our purpose and having that, is your partner very supportive of you? I know mine is, and I'm so lucky, and I know not everybody has that, and that's okay, but having a support partner helps.
Yes. My poor husband, he just did not know what he was getting into when he married me. But yeah, he's behind. So he's always behind me. Like in my journey, I feel like he trails me. And it's been hard for me to step into leadership in our relationship and in our marriage. But I can sense from my clients that I work with, this is happening. Men are being beckoned to hold space for women, as opposed to women holding space for men. And I feel like they're starting to get that message as well. And so I think there's a lot of healing that has to happen, but my husband supports me 100%. And to be honest, in a very loving way, if he wasn't, my mission's more important than my marriage. So if he could not allow me to be in my mission, we would not be able to stay married for a long period of time. And that just happened with my near-death experience. It'd be too painful for me to not do what I'm doing, to stay small and stay in a marriage where I wasn't supported or seen. And he knows that. And so I think just us being truthful with one another, I think that he's proud of me and slightly horrified of who I'm becoming. But then he gets it and he leans into it. He catches up.
Yes, I feel the same. It's like all of a sudden, who is this? But they're like, wow, but wow. Right. I'll just be here, and it might, hold the space. Yes, that's a great way to put it. Hold the space and support, and opening even them up, I think, is a good thing. And even they have some things coming, as far as they've even been, all of us, women and men, have been so infiltrated, I want to say, or, just confused as to what is really our roles. And I love to go back to like the natives of the land who, that was all balance,
Mm-hmm.
You were there for each other and you supported each other, and you each had your roles in a way, but it wasn't one more than the other. It wasn't, and we're trying to get back to that balance, right? And we may hit a swing to the woman to come back before we hit that balance again. So Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
that's
a lot
how I
coming.
see that. I see that as you're exactly right. I see that as we're swinging into a different balance. Um, I would, I would be very surprised if we didn't have a woman president in 2024. I can see a woman. So I can see us swinging into women in traditional leadership roles, and then swinging back into that harmony and partnership. But we've been suppressed for so many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And so I think to come back into balance, we are going to see a shift. And it's not women being masculine. It's just that divine, strong, feminine, nobody's stronger than a mother advocating for their child or for their family. And so that's that mama bear, very strong, not masculine, but very strong feminine that I think a lot of us are starting to feel. Protests and rallies and those kinds of things, it's a sea of women. I mean, it is women who are out in the streets doing things way more than men. So I think that's really interesting. But again, I feel like for partnership and balance is kind of where we all want to be. Do you see that? I mean, do you see that kind of how it coming is swinging back into balance?
Yes, I do. That's one of the things I see as well, and I hope for, and I hope it comes sooner. I mean, because there is the kind of femininity that's going on that is more masculine. That's the one we're
Right.
talking about, and then even the masculine has been misinterpreted as well. So it's like it's this false masculine that some of the feminine is going into as well. So I
Yes. Yes.
say, okay, well, hopefully we don't stay in that long, and us actual, like you said, the mother of the woman, the comforting, the nurturing, not the one who tries to be a man or masculine, but this is who we need to shift it, to nurture all those that need healing, all that whole facade of the hard masculine, the,
Yeah. And in sexuality as well, I feel like we have popular culture is the way that they're flaunting female sexuality is absolutely weaponized against this strong mother archetype that wants to come through. And I feel like the younger women are getting that confused with how to be strong and independent, and we're being led into these kind of false role models of what that would look like. And I feel like over the next few years, we're going to have some really powerful women step into a role model place. And I pray for that, as opposed to be like Hollywood and music and all the things that we totem for our young kids, that maybe we can start to actually have some real amazing role models step through and be. Before I decide to do something, take a risk, I think to myself, my kids, everything's videotaped now. So every video I ever do, eventually my kids can see, but they're 5 and 6. And I think about like, well, who do I want to, if something was to happen to me, and the videos that they would see, like who do I want to be for my daughter, and who do I want to be for my son? And like, and that's the ultimate motivator. It's like, if you don't feel like going anymore, if you feel like you want to give up, it's like, well, who do you want to be for them? And what kind of world do you want to leave for them? And not that men don't have that, but women, we have the ability to tap into that motivation so easily. And that can be the driving force that keeps us propelled, moving forward, staying in our purpose.
Yes, I agree with that all. Beautifully said, beautifully put. We are,
Talk
yes.
about this crap all day long. I can't stop. This is so fun.
Yes, I love it too. We are to be the true role models. And I pray and hope to. And that's what we're here doing, right? We are stepping into this, and we are taking on those roles. It's not for attention, recognition, for anything like that. It's actually paving the way. We're in the early stages. It's the building stage, I call, right? Yeah. Paving that way to start making the way for the true masculine and feminine to be in balance again, and for just humanity even right? To
Mhm.
step into each one's role, like each has a role. And that's what I'm an advocate for, especially too, is getting people as help and teaching them, teaching the ways of nature. I mean, yeah, do you want to go into that and how important you think nature has what we need, and of course our connection with spirit and the divine?
Mm. Well, I mean, I live in Northern California, and I moved from the Bay Area, busy Bay Area, to the foothills, and I'm on 2.5 acres. And I can feel my desire to go even deeper into nature and to begin growing my own food. There is, um, uh, we're going to have to get closer to nature to survive. So it's not even like we're being invited. It's we're going to have to learn how to work with nature to survive as a species. And whether that happens in the next 4 years or 5 years, or that happens in the next 20 years, I can see that happening where um, back to basics. Like we've got to get back to basics. And I think as far as physical health goes, um, the more physically healthy you are, the cleaner you are, the less toxic that you are, the clearer your channel is to spirit, and the easier it is to do anything that you put your mind to. So we have this physical body that's our temporary meat suit that we hang out in when our soul's here doing whatever it's doing. And if we can honor this body um, and nourish it, everything else becomes easier. And unfortunately, society, everything's been weaponized against us. Our skies, our food, our medicine, EMFs, 5G, we are getting bathed in obstacles to like that clean connection to nature that we all need. So I do feel, especially for women, if there's a part of that you feel compelled to take action, and we need women advocating for not giving 72 doses of vaccines to babies, and not putting glyphosate in all of our food, and not fluoridating our water, and not blasting us with 5G. I feel like we are at a tipping point biologically where we have to get back closer to nature. And I'm not I try not to be a doomsday predictor, but the versions of the future that I see, the next 6 months are going to go down as probably the toughest 6 months in human history. I don't know if you see anything very clearly happening very soon, but I feel we have something very big happening very soon with biology and physical health.
Yes, I agree with all, and yes, I see the different outcomes as well. We still always have free will, right? So it can
Yeah.
go different ways, but it's just we're able to see, you and I, and there's others, but able to see the different outcomes depending what people choose. So
Right.
I'm like rooting for I'm rooting for us, but it's going to be tough no matter what either way. And yes, I totally agree. People are going to be needing to know trades, and we're getting close to the land is definitely key. I agree. That's the way I put it as well. Almost go back to the beginning, back to the native ways where they did live off the land. And it'll look different because we're in a more technological age, but depending what people choose, we will definitely still need skills, and we're going to need different people. So that's why I'm so like, okay, what's your purpose? Do you know it? Let's find it.
And I always say to my clients, like, dress rehearsal's over. Right? It's the times that we live in. We don't get to just dream and think about who we want to be and what we came here for. And if you're getting that nudge to take action, there is a reason. I'll share a really quick personal story that is funny. I put on some scrubs one day, and I went down to the California Capitol to a medical freedom event. And I had never been to one before. So I went by myself. I didn't know anybody there, and there was no parking. And so I drove around for 45 minutes. I had to pee, could not find parking in downtown Sacramento, and then to get to the Capitol. Finally, I see a parking spot it's a mile away from where I have to be. And there's one spot, and I pull into the parking spot, and I go to the back of my car, and there's a word painted in my parking spot. There's no words painted in any other parking spot. and the word responsibility was painted. I pulled into the responsibility parking lot. I knew I was going to be interviewed that day by the news, and I was. And I chose to speak about my concern with vaccine safety, dressed in scrubs on the news, because of that sense of responsibility. Like, it would have been way easier to just not have declined it. But we don't get to decline it anymore. If we are asked to do something, we just say yes and we figure it out. And our fear of what other people think needs to be gone. Our own physical health needs to be number one priority. Even if we're a busy mom with little kids, we have to be healthy. So it's like dress rehearsal's over. I can feel the quickening. It's like, if you came here to use a gift, this is the year you want to do it. You don't want to wait. You don't want to put it off. You don't want to take more certifications. You want to just start taking action and being who you came here to be. Do you feel that too? Like, I'm sure this is why you're doing what you're doing, but you can feel that we're just, it's like, it's time, ladies. Come on. You got what you need. Come on, stand up.
Yes. Yep. I feel it. I feel it. And even when you hear and say the phrase, the 2020 vision, get into that clear vision, and then it's all out from there. And I think that's important as well. You bringing up the, owning who we are and really feeling comfortable with it. That was one of my hardest things. I feel like probably a lot of women's hardest thing is to, well, anybody really, right? We've been taught to not really show who we really are, and we really haven't even known who we really are. So when you're finally able to step into it and step in and own it, then it just feels so much better. And people will still maybe say things, but that's because they need healing and they need their own guidance. But that's important. And seems to hold some people back, including myself. It took me a while, even after my near-death experience, to actually come out. Just probably within the past year for me, I came out way more. And finally, it's just like, okay, I am who I am. I am what I am, and take it or leave it.
Absolutely. And rip the Band-Aid off. Once you rip the Band-Aid off, it always seems worse in your head than what it is. I remember my first Facebook Live where I said, I can talk to dead people. Like, on a Facebook Live, I was like, so yeah, I can talk to dead people. And I was like, I needed to come out of the closet with that. And it was so freaking liberating. And the thing is that the more you are in your purpose and the stronger you are, people are going to dislike you. So you aren't going to be everybody's cup of tea. The brighter your light is, the more moths are drawn to your flame. And that's okay too. And that's the beautiful part about having community and having support of other women who are in their purpose, because people won't like how you've changed. It makes them uncomfortable, and hurt people, and healed people heal people. And when you become healed, the hurt people don't like that. And so I always tell my clients, don't be everybody's cup of tea. Intend for someone to dislike you, because if someone dislikes you, that just means that you're able to be more of who you are. I don't know. Have you had any experience with that, Amber, with negative people attacking you, or negative, or like my own dad, when I became pretty successful financially, he kind of didn't like that because I wasn't fitting in his little Laura box anymore. And I'm like, that's weird. As we get bigger, people get more uncomfortable.
Yes, I have experienced it. And luckily there is also ones that you gain though as well,
Absolutely.
So that's a good thing. We have gained a lot, right? We're here, and even some new friends, online and in person. So, as we're kind of losing some, we're also gaining some.
Oh, absolutely. Amazing. Yeah. It's amazing because you find your tribe, because the people, you raise your vibration, you're nice and bright. The dark people, they fall away. And then you have the space in your life and you just attract the most amazing humans. And I don't know about you, but whoever I'm surrounded by, if I'm surrounded by a team, especially a team of strong women, there's nothing I can't say or do. I don't have any fear, zero fear. I could step out onto a stage and speak to 1,000 people. I would have zero fear. And so finding your people who are like fanning your flame and really want to see you be who you are is such a gift. And I think in the natives, of course, did this. You know, we didn't live in little houses by ourselves. We lived in communities where we all had a role, and we were encouraged and really encouraged to grow and be who we're supposed to be.
Yes, right. You know, as the real woman and mother woman, we are more empowered with each other. You know, the women in their empowerment are able to truly empower and appreciate and help each other. That community role, like you said. I mean, oh, I can't wait till we get back to that. And we
I
are
know.
it, but you know, on a more physical level, I guess.
Yeah.
And
Well, I'm looking at, you know, 40 acres in northern Idaho, and we might go buy it and create space for people to come be on it. I don't know if I'm going to do that this year or not, but I absolutely see a more communal living. And that's great. I would have never have said that 5 years ago, that you couldn't. I would have thought I was nuts, and I can just see it and how wonderful that would be to raise our kids in community, to make meals with and to help one another, to share skills, to share tractors, to share tools. Instead of having, you know, 5 families have 5 tools, we have 1 tool for 5 families. And what a more abundant way to grow up and create.
yes, yes, I've seen that too. And that's a lot of the speak going around in, you know, kind of the spiritual community, I'll say, or not necessarily, but I do see it more there. But it is being opened up a lot more. A lot more people are talking about having retreats or little community places. And of course, we're thinking about it too. So that's definitely one of the visions that I surely hope for.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it will come, but I'm like, just in my time?
Yeah, right.
Yes. Okay, let's see. How about, do you have a favorite moment with your kids? Like any heart melting? I know we have a lot, so it's hard to choose, but any specifically you remember funny, heart melting? Yeah.
Oh, I have so many. But one of my favorites was with my son, EJ. He's 6 now. He was 3. And he always has deep thoughts. And so we were on our way to preschool. His sister's 2, he's 3. And he goes, Mom, the next time I come to Earth, will you be my mommy again? And I said, sure. You know, I can be your mommy again. He's like, yeah, because you were really cute when you were a baby, but I like it much better when you're the grown up. And so for a moment, because I think we incarnate together in different roles. And so he's just had said so many things like that yesterday he said he's been making fairy houses. And I'm like, have you ever seen any fairies with your eyes? He's like, no, silly, you can only see fairies with your heart. He's just like this little, just wise little boy. So my daughter is challenges me a lot more, but my son is just very sensitive and very in tune, and they're just little wise souls.
Yes. Yes, that happens too. I feel like a lot of our family, we come back with, you know, like my son, I was like you, and I had 2 very close together, like the same thing, 3 months later. Mine are, 13 months apart.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Oh yeah.
or 13 or 14. So yes, okay. No, sorry, 13 or 14 months. 3 months after I was pregnant, I got pregnant again. So I mean, one's in January, the other one the end of February, a year later.
Yeah,
so
that just like mine.
Not the way I meant it, but that's what I mean. So with my but I have all boys, 3 boys. But with my second to last, he was when I really started getting my messages and all that coming through, and I just know and feel, you know, that he's like me, definitely a lot like me. The others are too, like they have their little gifts, but that one was like my tune-up. Like that's why I say I suppressed my gifts for so long. And then once I was pregnant with him, it's like, shoom, like
Yeah.
I opened up and I was started receiving messages. And that's when I started my writing and all that stuff. And, but he is really with my husband's family, but it's like, we also had a connection. So it's like, I don't know, like like we were all meant to be together. We
Yeah.
have many times. I've seen us together many times in other lives. And this son in particular, though, he's just like my husband and me. He just connects us all.
Yeah. Well, and also, I remember hearing when EJ had said that to me and just having that deep knowing we're never going to be apart. So, I feel like our biggest fear as a mother is something happening to our child or having a sick child or a child pass. That's you ask any mom, that's going to be number one on the list above anything else. And there was a moment when he said that, and probably because of the vibration he was in. And I just was like, I don't have to even fear that because we're never going to be apart if we don't want to be. And when people pass, and I'm sure your people who are watching this, when you pass, you enter into a space of timelessness. So when we pass, we see our loved ones in a few minutes. It's just, you don't miss anybody because there's no time. And so the only place that we perceive the separation from our loved ones is in the human body, but it's not real. We're always together. Anyone that you've ever loved, you're always with them all the time. But when you're incarnate, we're just, we have the illusion that we're separated. And so for a moment, like any fear of ever losing either one of my kids was lifted. And that is freedom. When you don't fear your own death and you don't fear your children's deaths, that's a huge freedom if you can step into that truth and experience it from time to time. So I feel like, you talk about retreats, like if we could create a retreat and create experiences of that for our people, all you have to do is experience it once and then it's real. And with the absence of fear, it's so much easier for us to step into our gifts as mothers and as people. That was a tangent. I'm sorry.
No, yes, I agree. I totally agree. That's where I feel like, especially right now in these times that we are in, and maybe I'm sure it's that we had that near-death experience, so it is kind of, I guess, maybe easier for us to fathom because we've been to that. Like I call the place, I was led through a lot of different places, and I went at the end to what I refer to as heaven. Like it was white. There was nothing. We were just nothing, but I felt this beautiful unconditional love, in which I would call the presence of God, heaven.
Yeah.
And so coming back from that, I don't have that fear of death. And I feel like the powers that be use that on people for sure.
Oh, yeah.
That fear of death and the fear of just like everything. But the fear of death is the main one. And the situation we're going through now, of course, it's like it's got people not living like people should, which is in community, being with your loved ones, loving, they're literally trying to separate people. And that's not healthy for us at all. So I'm definitely a huge advocate for, yes, trying to teach and show people, not to be afraid of that. It is okay. And that presence is always here with us. It's not as strong as when we pass. I've tried, I've gone into meditation and I love the angels. I go with that energy, but it's still not that energy. That one's really heavy and beautiful and strong. But our goal here is, and what I brought back as well, is to bring that heaven on earth in all our hearts and homes. That's kind of my little saying, heaven to earth.
I love that.
So it's just, yes, getting people not to be so afraid of that. And so I agree with that little tangent,
Yeah. Because, fear, if you think about what keeps us small and keeps us enslaved in our own belief systems, is the fear. And it usually, when you go back to different fears, if you really do deep inner work, it always comes to the fear of death, or the fear of separation, or the fear of being rejected, or the fear of being unliked. For women, especially for those of us who've incarnated as, and we were part of Salem witch trials, which a lot of us were, when we begin to use our gifts, our intuitive gifts, we actually have the fear of dying because we were persecuted before. And that should tell us a lot about how powerful we are. We're so powerful that we were silenced, and we've been silenced in many different eras. And this is the time to not be silenced. And this is really the time to face your own fear of death, and your fear of being rejected, and your fear of being disliked, because they are not real. You feel them as real, but if you can step outside of that, they're a construct that we've been programmed with from a very young age. When you talk about getting back to nature, we raised kids in nature with no media. They would know all this stuff. They would absorb these natural truths, and they wouldn't be overran the programming that we're being fed. And so I do feel like the more that we can be in nature and separate from the programming, the stronger that our little ones who are getting older, we're leaving them a world that they're going to have to fix. And so I feel like that's how we can prepare them, is by really nurturing that nature part. And we are in an era of distance learning and Zoom learning, and I don't want moms to feel guilty about that. We're doing the best that we can, but any chance we can to unplug and go be is so important right now.
Yes, I agree. And that's where we can get our connection to source, like, even closer as well. Just going out in nature and being barefoot out there and just in peace. That connection can come right to you. And I know that happens with me, but our listeners who may not, be that in depth, just going outside, standing in nature barefoot and letting all go and be, and you can feel it all. You can feel Mother Earth beneath your feet. You can feel the wind, Father Heaven and Sky, just literally has a pulse through you. And that's scientifically proven. So, that there's frequency.
I had a client who created a bucket list for each season for their family. So, and we're going to be doing this today. And so I was just thinking, as you were saying that, as moms who are trying to balance everything, and they watched something like this and they're thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to find time to go be in nature? How am I going to find time to connect to source? We can do a bucket list and do something like dance in the rain, jump into a pile of leaves, roll around in the grass, like make a bucket list. And with your kids, when you have an afternoon, look at your bucket list. And these are all free. These are free, amazing human experiences that we don't think to put on a bucket list. We think, go to Santorini, go on vacation, do all these things. But we can put these small ceremonies with nature, whatever that might be, into a bucket list. And then, if it's raining outside, I say, do you guys want this to be the day we're going to go dance in the rain? We can check it off of our bucket list. I found that to be like a really practical way to bring some of that into the madness of our schedules and of life. I just thought that was so beautiful. I'm gonna go to Michael's today and get make one and make it all pretty for fall, just to make sure that I don't get too stuck in business and in life to forget to go dance in the rain, which we can do in the cities. So I just wanted to add.
That's a great idea. I'm gonna do that. Cool. So
I think it's Pinterest. It's a Pinterest idea, but my client brought it to me yesterday, and I'm like, doing it, taking it. That's my new idea.
Yep, that's a good one. All right. Well, how about touch on us with freedom? Like, your views of freedom. I know you have freedom is good medicine. So let's talk about why freedom is so important.
Oh, yes. So never before in the history of the United States have our freedoms been under attack more than they are right this minute. And I'm a huge advocate for freedom of choice, whatever your choice may be. whether it be masking, whether it be vaccination, whether it be social distancing. It's really important for us to decide if we're going to let the fear of death take away our freedom. And so Freedom is Good Medicine is my website, my new company. I do medical freedom advocacy through it with nurses. I do personal freedom coaching. So like freedom from what other people think. If I can give that to my clients, they will go do whatever they're going to do. That particular freedom, the freedom from what other people think, I think is the most important skill that we need to be fostering right now, because that's how we're going to be enslaved, is the fear of being weird, the fear of offending, the fear of getting yelled at for not wearing a mask. We can't let fears keep us enslaved, and that's how we're being enslaved at this time. So I'm a huge advocate for standing up for that, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of the blowback, because if we can't stand up to these little things, the big things that are coming very shortly will feel nearly impossible. And so start flexing that muscle now of standing in your truth and not being afraid of what other people think.
Yes, I agree so much, and all of it. Well, with all you said, but yes, we are on a precipice now of yes, now's the time to stand in our truth and take that vision, take that role, and really get serious with it. Well, have fun, but build and start getting ready, stepping into that. And I love that, I love that, all the freedom, but freedom of not being afraid of what people may think. That's what we talked about earlier as well, right? And
right.
So, yeah, it's a huge thing.
It's such a huge thing. And I don't, I was petrified of what people thought of me until I was about, 35. And I think about what would I have been capable of had I not had that fear. That fear had been removed at 20. I guarantee you my life would be so much different. And that is, I think, the number one fear that keeps us enslaved and keeps us in patterns that don't serve us and don't serve our big purpose. And so that's my jam. That's my focus right now is that one aspect of when we can remove that fear of how much of life opens up. We're not afraid to talk to anybody. There's no human being in the world that I can't look in the eyes and talk to. And there's no subject in the world that I'm afraid to talk about. That's really powerful. And I'm really grateful that I have that. And I really want other women and other people to experience the freedom that comes from that.
Yes, me too. Thank you so much.
And so it is. We'll blast it out from our screens, and so it is. It's like, I think it can happen that fast. So ask for it. Ask for your angels. Ask for your guides to remove that silly little ego cage that we've been fed since we were little.
Yes. Ask and you shall receive, and it goes from there.
Yes.
All right. Anything, words of advice, opinions you want to share as we're closing out? Go ahead and give us some more. All your stuff has been so wise and helpful.
Yeah, I want to say to those of you who are intuitive, when you start to feel what's happening in the world in the next 4 months, it's going to feel like fear because it's intense, but you don't have to write it that way, and you don't have to interpret it that way. It's kind of like labor pains. So if you interpret labor pains as being intense instead of being painful, it's much easier to endure. And human beings are going through labor pains right now, extreme labor pains. And so when you're in resistance, when you're like, I don't want it, oh, it hurts, it's more painful. When it comes, if your mindset is, bring it, I got this, I'm going to ride this, then it actually fuels you and empowers you. So you can use this period of time to really propel you in a positive way. If you find yourself being afraid or anxious or can't sleep, it's because you're in resistance. And so if we can just use our mindset and do that quick little switch, this will actually be a really exhilarating time as opposed to a terrifying or difficult time.
All right, wonderful. Yes, we all need that advice right now for sure. I know I get that sometimes too. Wheels spinning at bedtime, and it's like, oh, cut it down.
Yes, magnesium 3 and 8. Magnesium 3 and 8 every night is my secret. It's my favorite. It'll calm the epinephrine in your brain, and it makes you be able to sleep, especially if you're getting the downloads at night like I do. It's like, not
Yeah.
tonight, not tonight, Source. I'll catch you in
Yeah.
the morning.
Great advice, because I take mine in the morning, so I'll just switch it for the night. So there we
Yeah.
go.
Awesome.
Okay, and then a closing out, and I'll put the information as well, in our bio, but, if you want to give any information, if you have classes, events, where people can find you, can go ahead and share that.
Yeah, so my website is Freedom is Good Medicine, and I have 3 offerings right on the site. One of them is an advanced health consultation. So if you are feeling like that's your number one thing, your number one obstacle, I offer a program with a naturopathic doctor. We will get it figured out. Whatever's going on with you, even if you've seen 1,500 doctors and you don't have an answer, this doctor is brilliant. And we work together in tandem and we figure out what's going on with you and we get you fixed physically. So I offer that service. I offer intuitive readings. If you're like, I'm ready, I'm healthy, I'm ready, but I don't know what, I don't know where. If you need clarity, an intuitive session is, it's very deep. It's shamanic heart surgery. It's definitely not a facial. We'll figure out what your purpose is and why you came if you need that clarity. And then I offer personal one-on-one coaching with a select few where I stay with them for 6 to 8 months and nourish them through whatever they're birthing. And that's in business, in financially, health, everything. So that's a much more inclusive offering that I have. And I have a little online store too with some gear that says Freedom is Good Medicine. So you can wear that at the grocery store. And if you have to go out and wear a mask, have Freedom is Good Medicine hat with your mask, and just kind of playful there with just trying to get that message out into the world. So.
Lovely. Thank you so much. I'll definitely go check out what you have. And thank you so much for being with us. And I love your story, love your mission. I'm so glad we're here and stepping out and sharing it with everyone. And thank you for being who you are and paving the way for many.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I adore you, and I love watching you on your own journey. And so any way I can support you, you just let me know as well.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
All right.
For full episodes and so much more exclusive content, become a patron at patreon.com/AmberCelestialAngel or visit AmberCelestialAngel.com for info on the course just for mothers so you can start living your purpose and dreams. Other services offered are there as well. Follow on YouTube, Amber Celestial Angel, like, share, subscribe for so much free content.